Hey guys, welcome back to Kirshner FarmStead. If you're new here, my name is Kirsty and this is Tanner, and we do all sorts of videos about homesteading, about farming, about canning and cooking. If you are interested in any of those topics, please feel free to like and subscribe and share our videos. Today is going to be our first video, pressure canning. Alright, so we are going to be doing dry beans. So as many of you know, dry beans will last a really long time, like 30 years on average, right? So it is really great to have dry beans in your stockpile, but it's also really great to have easy canned beans that you can just pull out and make a quick chili or refried beans with or anything like that, right? All right, so the first step in canning your beans is going to be to soak them. So you want to soak them for at least 3 or 4 hours, and then we are going to do a quick cook on them. We're not going to cook them all the way through. We're just going to cook them partially. All right, so first things first, we're going to wash our beans and check them for any rocks, right? Because we buy our beans in big 25-pound bags. We buy our beans in big 25-pound bags, and we do not want them to be, we do not want any rocks to get into our final product. All right, so let's get started. We have 3 pots, and that is what we are going to be putting them in. You don't want to ever fill your pot more than halfway with beans because they will swell up and you'll have an explosion on your hands. So obviously we just have quart jars, and that is not going to be enough to overflow it. So we're going to start with kidney beans. Beans. Look, right there, found a rock before I even started washing them. We had the hardest time finding kidney beans in the last year, and when we finally did find them, they were, I think, $30 or $32 for a 25-pound bag. It was crazy. All right, so we will rinse these. So we're doing kidney, Great Northern, and pinto beans. Okay, you guys, so we are going to leave those to soak there for about 3 or 4 hours, and then we will be back to start the canning process. All right, bye. Okay, you guys, so we are going to be cooking our beans on high for 30 minutes. This is just kind of acting as like a quick soak method because we didn't let the beans soak overnight. So in 30 minutes, we will be back with all of the canning process. Okay guys, so while our beans are cooking, I wanted to do a little bit of an overview on pressure canning because I know this is the first video that I have done for pressure canning. So first things first, you're going to need a pressure canner. Not a pressure cooker, not one of the electric ones that you get and put on your counter. That is not the same thing. So you are going to need a pressure canner, but then the rest of the supplies that you're gonna need are pretty much the same. Okay, so you are going to need a jar grabber, a jar funnel, a debubbler. I don't know where my debubbler went, so a butter knife works great if you don't have a debubbler. And then you are going to need jars, of course. You can use, I've seen a lot of people question if old jars can be used. Absolutely, old jars can be used, but you do need new lids for the jars every time. So if you don't have, like, see this one? This is a ball jar with a Kerr lid. And I think an Anchor Hawking, this is life, right? Because why wouldn't that start bubbling over right when I started filming? Anyways, where was I? Okay, so you have to have new lids, but you don't have to have new rings. You don't have to have new rings, and you don't have to have new jars, but you have to have new flats. So I know in the past couple years it's been super hard to find them, and I've pretty much only found them as sets. I did have one of my friends ship me just the lid flats from an Amish store in Iowa, but here it's been really hard to find in Northern California. We're just getting to the point where our shelves are pretty stocked again, but they're not consistently stocked with all sizes. So like I'll see a whole pallet of jelly jars, or a whole pallet of pints, or a whole pallet of quarts. But I never see multiple sizes at one time, really, unless there's like one case of pints left and a whole bunch of quarts. But a great place to find jars is actually yard sales, estate sales, and thrift stores. I have found that watch out for people on Facebook Marketplace, because they do happen to overcharge. Like I saw somebody trying to sell old glued on, like not nice anymore, glued on mason jars from a wedding that looked like it was like 10 years ago, and they were trying to sell them for $3 a jar. So just be really careful with people trying to scam people. They're all trying to make a quick buck right now, and it's ridiculous. But you can find good deals at thrift stores, yard sales, and even on Facebook. You can find good deals on there. But just be careful of people overcharging anywhere. I mean, it's just such is life at this point, right? Okay, so your pressure canner. We have a 23 quart Presto, and it can fit I think it can fit 20 pints in it. That's what I normally do is pints. I'm not actually positive how many quarts. I think it's only 7, because you can't double stack the quarts in here, but you can double stack pints. But anyway, so your pressure canner is going to have a weight of some sort. This is called a weight, and this is a gauge, okay? So when you're doing the pressure canning process, you're going to lock your lid on, and you're going to turn on the heat, and you're going to wait for this valve to start steaming, okay? And this is going to, when this starts a steady stream out, you are going to then turn on a timer, and you're going to do 10 minutes while this is steaming out, okay? And this is for any pressure canning. Anything that you're pressure canning, this is how you're going to do it. It's going to steam out for 10 minutes, and then you are going to put your weight on it. The way that this canner works is this is a 15-pound weight. And you're going to use it no matter what elevation you're at, okay? This is if you're going by your gauge. You're going to put this on after the 10 minutes has gone by, and it's steaming, and then you're going to wait for it to build pressure. If you are from sea level, if you are 0 to 1,000 foot above sea level, you're going to bring it up to 10 pounds of pressure, and you're going to hold it with adjusting the temperature on your stove at 10 pounds of pressure. If you are from 1,001 feet above sea level, up to anything above sea level, top of a mountain, right? You are going to be 15 pounds. Now, my gauge is actually off. It's been off since, it has been off since I bought it, and I know that because this is a 15-pound jiggler, and when it starts to jiggle, it's at 15 pounds of pressure, and it reads on here 17 pounds when this starts jiggling, okay? So once you get to the pressure that you want inside of your canner, whether it's 10 pounds or 15 pounds, you are going to adjust your temperature and hold it there for the time that you are doing your, whatever the time is, okay? So if it's bone broth, it's 20 minutes, right? But if it's beans, like we're doing today, it's going to be, pints are going to be 75 minutes, and quarts are going to be 90 minutes. So it's actually the same time as meat to do beans. But the time, I wanted to stress this because I see this question a lot. The time does not change because of your elevation. It's not water bath canning. So you don't can for an extra 5 minutes if you're above 2,000 feet or anything like that. The time that the jars are inside of the canner stays the same. The only thing different is the pressure, okay? All right. Okay, so then you are going to have racks that go on the inside of your canner. They come with this rack, looks like this. This one is actually from a pressure canner that I bought off of Facebook. By the way, check for pressure canners on Facebook. You can find great prices on those. I bought my mom a little one. I think it does like 8 pints or something, 9 pints and 7 quarts or something like that for $30. So keep an eye out on Facebook if you're trying to get a pressure canner, but a new one is too expensive. You can definitely find one. Just make sure if you're shopping used to check all of your gaskets, look through the holes, make sure that the stoppers pop up and everything. Just do your due diligence when you're buying used. And if you find one that is in really nice shape but it needs a new gasket, especially Prestos or I think even the Miros, you can replace the gaskets in them. Okay, so the most important thing is you need to make sure that your jars aren't sitting directly on the bottom of the canner. Okay, so I use this little wire one to go in the bottom, and then I use this one so that I can double stack because I don't have two of these. I just need to order a second one, but I haven't yet. So those are the racks that are going to be inside of your canners, and if you only have a one layer canner, then you're just gonna have one of these. You don't need two. Okay, so next, water. You have to have some water in your pressure canner. It is not the same. It is not like water bath canning. You are not going to fill up your canner all the way full above the top of the jars. My canner specifically takes 3 quarts of water. Normally, it's like 2 to 3 inches inside of the pressure canner, but check your manual or check online for the model that you have to see exactly how much you're gonna put in there. All right, so we're hot packing this. So what we need to do is we need to get this on the stove and get the water heating up to a simmer so that we can put hot beans in hot jars with hot liquid in a hot canner, okay? You make sure you never do hot jars with cold beans and hot water or whatever, you know what I mean? Because you're gonna shock your jars and you're gonna end up with broken jars. Ask me how I know. Okay, so let's get this going, guys. Okay, you guys, our beans have been cooking for 30 minutes while we did that little chat, and now let's get them packed. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to pack the beans into the jars, and then we will do the juice, the water from the beans after, so that we make sure that they're completely filled as full as we can. We're gonna bring them right up to the base of these jars, and that's called a 1 inch of headspace. So you want to leave 1 inch of headspace when you're doing beans. Okay, so this is an optional step, but you can add half a teaspoon of salt to each of your pints. So half a teaspoon for a pint, a whole teaspoon for a quart. Like I said, this is optional. This does not have anything to do with the preserving process. This is just for flavor. So if you are low sodium or don't like salt or whatever, you can leave it out, no problem. And this is canning salt that I'm using, but you can use any salt that isn't iodized, because if you use iodized salt, it will make your final product cloudy. But I have to just tell you, beans are gonna come out cloudy anyway. I'm shaking them all to loosen up any possible air bubbles. I do not use vinegar on my jar rims unless I'm doing something really fatty that needs it, like canned chicken with bones and stuff. What I do is I take my paper towel and I dip it in the simmering water, okay? Now, if you're gonna do this, be careful, don't burn yourself. This whole process is hot, don't burn yourself on anything. Don't worry, after a while, your fingers will just be used to it and then it'll be fine. Okay, so per the jar company's instructions, we do not simmer our jar lids anymore. All we do is we wash them in warm, soapy water. Okay, so I have 9 jars on the bottom. I can fit 10, but I'm going to distribute it more evenly from the bottom and the top. Now I'm going to put on my second layer. And this is just so that the jars don't sit directly on top of the other jars. Okay, you guys, this is what the inside looks like. We have the same on the bottom except one in the middle, okay? So now we are going to lock our lid. Okay, so there's an arrow here and an arrow here. You're gonna line those 2 arrows up like that first, make sure it's seated, and then you're gonna spin the handles together. Okay, now we're gonna turn our heat up to high, and we are going to wait until our valve is steaming a steady stream. All right, we'll be back in a second. Okay, you guys can see that there is a steady stream going now, and you can see that our little pressure button has popped up, okay? So that means that there is pressure building inside of the canner, even though the weight is not on there yet. But we are going to set the timer to 10 minutes. And we are going to be back, and that's when we'll put the weight on. Okay, you guys, our 10-minute timer has gone off, and that means that it has vented all of the extra air out of the pressure canner. Now we are going to take our weight. Don't be afraid of it, and stick it on there. Okay, now we are going to wait until our gauge gets up to 17 pounds, because remember, I told you my gauge is off by 2 pounds, so we're actually getting up to 15 pounds of pressure, and this is gonna start slowly rocking back and forth, okay? All right, we'll be back. Okay, you guys, see how it is at 17? The jiggler is gonna start going. Okay, so this is where you're gonna adjust your temperature down. You want to adjust it so that it holds at that temp. You're gonna go to medium on your stove and then work your way from there. I know that between 4 and 6 is the sweet spot on my stove, so I know that I can just turn it down to there and it'll hold it there pretty well. Hi you guys. Okay, so I just wanted to talk for a minute about the safety procedures and some of the safety things about our canner, okay? So number one is when you're pressure canning, you don't need to leave the room ever. Like, once you get comfortable with it, a quick trip to the bathroom is fine, but you know, you're not gonna be like setting the pressure canner and then going outside to do whatever, to do yard work or something like that, right? That's not how pressure canning works. You need to be in the room, watching TV, whatever. You just need to make sure that you can hear that and you'll get used to the sound of what it sounds like when it's correct, and you'll be good. But seriously, I just want to reiterate to not leave the room when you are pressure canning, especially the first, I mean, I tell you, I was so afraid to pressure can my first year, but I didn't do it very often. I did carrots and I did beans my first year. And I was honestly afraid of it, and I didn't really do it very much, and I shouldn't have been, because it's really not scary. You just need to take proper safety protocols, okay? So, but I want to show you, the things to know is this button back here, this little button. This little button back here will be popped up when when there's pressure inside of the pot, okay? And then this button right here, that is a pressure relief valve, okay? So this little black button that I just showed you, that is a pressure relief valve. And what will happen if it gets too high is that will blow first. That doesn't mean that this canner can't blow, okay? But what it does mean is that it's a safety fallback. You never want it to get to that point ever. As you can see on the gauge, there's like a caution area. Oh, you don't want to do that. There's a caution area on your gauge. Don't ever let it get to that point. And if you're using a weight or a jiggler or a weight, then you are going to be listening for that. So if it starts rocking really fast, then you need to be getting it off the heat as fast as possible. But I just wanted to say those few things about it. I know that a lot of people are afraid to pressure can, and you shouldn't be. You need to be cautious, not afraid, okay? So I'm here to tell you that you can do it, but be cautious when you are doing it. Okay, so in 10 minutes, we're gonna be done and we will finish up this video. Okay guys, so our gauge is at 0 and the little nipple in the back dropped down, which means that it is safe to open up the canner now. All right, so if it's hard at all to move, It is not ready to open. And even though the pressure has dropped, you still always open it away from yourself, okay? Like that. So that the steam doesn't come right at your face. As you can see, the beans are boiling in there. You see that? That's good. That's a good thing. All right, you guys, so our beans have finished, and now taking them out of the pressure canner and putting them onto a towel to rest for the next 24 hours. All right, you guys, so it is that easy to pressure can and to pressure can beans. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. All right, have a blessed day.